the United States is about to take action against Huawei again. This time it was more thorough and vicious. I believe that many viewers have seen relevant reports from Reuters and Bloomberg on January 31st. 1. US officials have proposed that this time they should be completely cut off. All US suppliers are prohibited from contacting Huawei. Intel and Qualcomm, among others, are prohibited from supplying Huawei with any products. 2. The United States first blocked 5G products, and Huawei mobile phones were forced to switch from 5G to 4G. Now, the United States is not allowed to supply Huawei with 4G, which is undoubtedly a fatal blow to Huawei mobile phones. 3. According to US media reports, this policy may be passed in May, which is the 4th anniversary of the US adding Huawei to the Entity List. 4. At present, US suppliers need government approval to sell products to Huawei, but recently, those applications have all been stranded. The US is very well thought out, isn't it? For years ago, the US took half of Huawei's life, and now it wants the remaining half. There is no doubt that in the past 4 years, Huawei has been the most tragic company in China. You must know that the best Huawei mobile phone in China has a global market share in 2019 that surpasses Apple's iPhone. In normal market competition, Huawei is very likely to become the world's top smartphone sales champion. But it is a pity that the suppression of the United States and the blockade and sanctions on the chip have plunged Huawei into the darkest moment. Huawei mobile phones, which could have been brilliant, had to slow down, and its sub-brand Honor was forced to sell to survive. Tragic scenes happened one after another. Huawei then launched the P50 mobile phone. When the P40 was already capable of 5G, the newer P50 could only be reduced to 4G. In addition, Huawei's 5G business in some countries is also facing various variables under the discredit and pressure of the United States. Even so, the United States is not giving up. After nearly 4 years of extreme pressure, the United States is ready to tighten the final rope. This kind of comprehensive strangulation allows us to understand the plan of the United States. It first smeared and created public opinion, then cut off the supply of its own high-tech products, then put pressure on other countries with long-arm jurisdiction restrictions, and finally planned to completely cut off the supply and complete the strangulation. Now the United States is not only targeting Huawei. According to media reports, the United States has recently put pressure on the Netherlands and Japan to create a chip alliance, including prohibiting the export of more advanced lithography machines and other chip manufacturing equipment to China. What is America's purpose? In short, destroy China's high-tech capabilities. So, under the comprehensive sanctions of the United States, how long can Huawei or more Chinese companies survive? What would the Chinese government respond to the oppression of the United States? Hi. Welcome to Tech Teller, and let's move on to today's topic. I saw that there was such a conversation at the press conference on January 31st. A Reuters reporter asked, the US government has stopped approving US companies to export most of their products, including 4G smartphone chips, to China's Huawei. What is China's comment? Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Mao Ning replied, China is seriously concerned about relevant reports, and we are paying close attention to relevant developments. China firmly opposes the United States' generalization of the concept of national security, abuse of state power without bottom line, and unreasonable suppression of Chinese companies. The principles of market economy and international economic and trade rules have undermined the confidence of the international community in the US business environment and our naked technological hegemony. China will continue to firmly safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies. Well, naked technological hegemony. In the face of this kind of hegemony, trade freedom, international rules, and the spirit of contract all count for nothing. How hypocritical it is. What to do next? Well, China's challenges are quite serious, but it must face reality. First, Chinese companies must give up all illusions. Could it be that the United States will be merciful if they cooperate and obey the United States? Of course no. The United States accuses Huawei of threatening US national security. There is no evidence, but the United States just wants the whole world to become its accomplice. there is also the field of chips. Isn't the United States coercing and luring countries such as the Netherlands to prevent China from making breakthroughs in this field? So, we see two recent paradoxes. Paradox 1. On the one hand, the United States requires China to cooperate with the United States, and even requires China to sever cooperation with Russia to cooperate with the United States, but on the other hand, it exerts various extreme pressures on China, including the suppression of the chip field. Paradox 2. Among the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, China is the most peaceful one. It has not participated in nor launched a war in the past 40 years, but it is portrayed by the Americans who are constantly fighting as a country that is naturally aggressive and pursues militarism and expansionism. What a joke! Faced with such behavior, it is foreseeable that Chinese companies, especially those in the high-tech field, may face more severe suppression and decoupling from the United States. This is actually the United States using its hegemony to wage a high-tech war. Second, Chinese companies still need to maintain confidence. China's system and market, as well as the wisdom and innovation of the Chinese people, are the source of its confidence. Wenink, CEO of the Dutch lithography giant ASML, warned that he is worried that the strangulation policy of the United States will eventually prompt China to speed up its research and development progress. This will definitely take time, but the more pressure you put on them, the more likely they are to go the extra mile, and finally produced a lithography equipment that can rival ASML. Take Huawei as an example. The United States has strangled it for more than 3 years. Is Huawei really dead? In 2021, Huawei's sales plummeted by 28.6%, which is indeed extremely dangerous. However, Huawei stabilized in 2022, with global sales of 636.9 billion yuan, the same as the previous year. Perhaps, it was Huawei's strength that made the United States angry and began to strangle it in an all-round way. But don't forget, trying to block the way of others will only block your own way in the end. I still remember that in an internal speech the year before last, Ren Jingfei specifically mentioned that a moving picture was posted in the Huawei cafeteria. It was during World War II. American reporters stopped a Chinese soldier who was going to the front line. American reporter asked, "How old are you?" Chinese soldiers said, 16 years old. The American reporter asked again, "Do you think China will win?" Chinese soldiers said, "China will definitely win." The American reporter then asked, "When China wins, what are you going to do? Marry a wife and have children? Or continue to join the army?" The Chinese soldier smiled and replied, "At that time, I had already died in battle." Behind the calm dialogue is the determination. Very tragic, but must win. This reminds me of another Huawei poster. An Illinois II plane full of bullet holes in World War II was beaten like a sieve in the battle, but it still kept flying and finally flew back safely. Heroes have suffered many hardships since ancient times, and it is the courage to die that allows they to win the final victory. Everything that doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Well, thanks for listening. Please put your comments below, and share your insightful ideas. I am Tech Teller, the person to tell you the opinions that worth spreading every day. See you.